This time on Watchers of Tomorrow, according to subsection 13 of part 47 of section 391, we must admit that this is indeed an episode.
Hello, welcome to Watchers of Tomorrow, the sci-fi review and critique show where we are genuinely excited for legal jargon. My name is Gelp, and I'm joined as always by my friend and co-host Dr. Isix.
Hi!
And this week we have, I don't know how to describe it. It's one of the first, Data gets to go off on his own and do stuff episodes, which I've always enjoyed.
Yes, a data adventure time.
It's also one of the weirder, we're doing a thing with moral implications that we're just not gonna think about.
Indeed. We're here to do Starfleet things, not moral things. So, Starfleeting.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the Ensigns of Command, which I don't know why. I don't understand. I'm not even finding notes. Usually these have notes about the title references or something on one of the research pages, and I haven't found it, so...
Well, I believe ensigns in this case refers to a flag, as in, this is like a commanding flag, I suppose. And it's like a reference to a poem by John Quincy Adams called The Wants of Man.
Okay.
Yes.
Why didn't they say that? I couldn't find that. Usually they have a note for me, and then I can look up something and find a literary reference that I have no frame of context for.
Yeah, I was also unaware that John Quincy Adams was known at all for being a poet, so...
Everyone used to be. Everyone used to be a poet.
It's like, it's either this or being really into puns, and, well... This is the more socially acceptable one for people that run for president to become president,
Yeah. Yeah, if only you had to actually know how to read and write to be president anymore.
Yeah.
Though I don't know. That's romanticizing. I don't think he was better than any of our recent presidents, historically.
Yeah, John Quincy Adams, early 1800s. A lot of them were kind of crap at various levels, and yeah.
They've all been bad. Anyway.
Yeah. Just a matter of how bad in what ways.
We have, in fact, heard of the writer of this episode before, because this is by Melinda M. Snodgrass, who did Measure of a Man and Pen Pals and Up the Long Ladder, which is just such a weird, best episode, mid-episode, bad episode, weird episode.
Yep. It's like, this is kind of a weird trajectory here, but all right.
So you wrote one of the most well-remembered and well-received episodes of any Star Trek series ever, and this one where we make fun of the Irish.
Yes, specifically old-timey Irish people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Irish unification of 2024.
Yeah, we'll get to that later this season, I believe, right?
I've just been seeing memes. Everyone's on it ever since New Year's.
Yes. I'm pulling for him. I guess we do technically know a couple folks presently in Northern Ireland that would be affected by that, but I think they'd be okay with it. But I guess we could ask too. But anyway.
Anything that gets them out of the English, probably fine. There's an entire town in this episode, so I'm not going to list all of the guest stars, and the guest stars get weird
a little bit.
So let's just start off. Easy. Got Elaine Seedley, who's playing Ardrin Mackenzie. They say her name so offhandedly I can never say what they're saying her character name is.
Yeah, I don't remember how to pronounce it either, actually.
I'm gonna call her Ardrin, but there's an apostrophe in the middle of it. It's just weird.
Is it Ardrin?
Anyway.
Yeah. Sounds like a Klingon.
She is the computer-obsessed love interest for Data.
And by love interest, I mean, we definitely mean that this is totally a two-way street because Data has emotions, right?
Yes.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, definitely. She's not just harassing a robot. She's best known for playing someone called Jenny in Down and Out in Beverly Hills. Not heard of.
Beverly Hills, that's where I want to be, down and out.
She briefly played Martha Wayne in Batman Forever, because anyone who plays Martha Wayne does it briefly.
So it's a very important part. You'll be the mother of the protagonist, and your presence in the story will shape their character in the most impressive and permanent way. Which character is this? Martha Wayne.
And she's
have to show up?
And she's in the Christmas horror movies Jack Frost and Jack Frost 2, Revenge of the Killer Snowman.
Wowzers, yeah. It was also in Sister Sister. I remember that show.
Yeah. I only sort of remember it, but yeah. She's been in a lot of shit that is weird.
Not a lot recently, but, sometimes you get out of acting.
And then Mark Lawrence Taylor is playing Harith. He's been in a lot of recognizable movies like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Arachnophobia, Inner Space, TV shows like MASH, Young Indiana Jones, Superman, Powerpuff Girls, lots of stuff. We're going to have to watch Inner Space at some point, and Arachnophobia is technically sort of science fiction because mutant spiders.
Big giant spiders. Well, they're kind of big.
We could probably do Honey, I Shrunk the Kids too, if you want to stretch to sci-fi comedy.
I think that's definitely within our wheelhouse. Giant umbrella here. He was also in The Rocketeer, the TV series.
Which I still am baffled by. Why did they do that?
Unnecessary, but, that's what a lot of TV shows are.
And Richard Allen is playing Kentor. All the names in this freaking... They're always doing weird names. They're like, these are supposed to be humans. He's hard to find any information on. He seems to have done largely voice acting. He did voices in Mobile Suit Gundam, Jumanji, the TV series. Who remembers that?
Not me. It was animated, I guess.
Yep. I used to watch some of that. They go to Jumanji, and then they have like a Saturday morning cartoon sort of moral dilemma, like you stole a candy bar in the real world, and now you have to go to Jumanji and learn that stealing is wrong, and then that'll let you out of the super deadly jungle where everything is trying to kill you.
Like, that seems like a kind of an extreme response to petty theft.
Yeah, it's like something happens, they go to the Jumanji world, they learn that what they did was wrong, or whatever moral lesson they're taking from the episode, and then they can leave.
Hooray, we survived another day! Wow, our lives suck, actually.
He's also does voice acting in Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, and he will appear later as the Temerian first officer in Darmok.
Yes. Yeah. So there's the Temerian who goes down onto the planet, but there's also the one that stays on the ship and talks at Riker, and Riker's like, I don't get what's going on. And he's like, talk to the hand.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the one that's on the ship being angry that Riker doesn't know what's happening. It's like, how can you not get it? We sent both of our captains down to fight a monster to the death to further diplomatic relations. This is normal.
Yes. Did you not do this? Come on, guy.
And then Mart McKenzie is playing the Shiliak. There's several of them. Maybe it's unclear. Probably at least two.
I'm pretty sure they use the same costume for all of them, so
Yeah. I find this interesting because he also previously played Armin, which means that he's appeared 2 times playing a guy made of black goo.
Yep.
He's typecast in the weirdest possible way.
Well, I guess the suit already fit because it's just the Armin suit with all the oil on it. So,
And Christopher Collins plays the voice of the Sheiliac, and he's notable for being the voice of Cobra Commander in G.I. Joe, and Starscream in the Transformers, and Moe and Mr. Burns in the first season of The Simpsons, the weird one where none of the voices sound right.
Yeah, and the voices are a little off, and some of the animations, like, this character's hair, it's not the right color. What's going on?
And finally, Granger Hines, who plays... Wow, how do I say this name? Where am I? Goshevin. That's what they say. They say Goshevin.
Yes.
My God, what is wrong with the normal human names? Even something from another country would be easier to read.
Well, I as someone who writes a fair bit of science fiction, when I'm dealing with human beings from Earth, I try to actually use names that are at least semblances of something that you'd find in our real world. It's only when I go to the aliens that it's like Geog and things like that.
Yeah, this is like every time you read post-apocalyptic fiction. It's like, what's your name? Pine Bapple. It's like, because my father found me next to a can of pine bapples. It's like, shut up. I hate you. Stop writing this right now.
Ford Lincoln Mercury Sable. That's a bit of a name, isn't it?
Are you reading Mortal Instruments?
No.
Mortal Engines. That's like Mortal Engines names.
Mortal instrumentation of engines.
Yeah.
Neogenesis.
So anyway, Goshevin is like the leader of the village, and they decided that Granger Hines did not have the voice for the leader of the village, so they dubbed over all of his lines.
Yes.
By someone who I can find absolutely no information of at all.
Yes, and there's an official line for why they did that, but there's also maybe doubt about that being the truth. So, meh.
Yeah, he asked to be uncredited because they dubbed over his entire performance, which I thought it sounded weird. Like, something about it was weird when I was watching, and then I read this. Like, okay, that makes sense. They did bad ADR.
Yes. Oh, he is being dubbed here. Okay.
Anyway, Hines was best known later for being in True Blood, Ghost Whisperer, Airwolf, Blue Bloods, Rocky II, also in Inner Space.
This is starting to become a trend, isn't it?
Yeah, everyone's been in Inner Space. I like that movie, but it's objectively not a great movie.
Yeah, it's a fun movie, but yeah.
It's a fun movie. It's not a good movie. So Picard and Crusher are in 10 forward, and they're going to see a concert. Data arrives because he's playing violin and tells them that they should go to the next performance because he's not good at playing the violin, which is silly. But he's like, oh, I've been told that I'm soulless. And they go, no, that's not true. Stop that. Don't tell people you're going to be bad right before you perform something.
Yeah. I know there might be, an impulse by a lot of folks that's like, I need to downplay my performance so that they're not disappointed. But no, just let it stand on its own, because you might actually rock. Come on, Data.
No, this is just general advice for anybody who does artistic stuff. Never tell them that you think it's going to be bad, and never tell anyone that you were going to do something better, because they don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, just do that, let them like it, and shut up. Now, if you're in a critique situation and someone goes, this was terrible, how did you think you did? Admit that you did terrible, because they don't like false confidence.
Yeah. It's like, I guess you're right. I really should have did this or this other thing differently.
Yeah, but don't do it before. That's bad.
No, this conversation is also having me think about the song Paperback Writer. Anyway, going on.
So before they can listen to much, Picard's pulled away because they've gotten a call from the Sheiliac, who have not contacted the Federation for over 100 years.
So, like, Kirk times. Huh.
Yeah. So it turns out that they've contacted them because there are human settlers on the world of Tau Cygna 5, a planet that is theirs according to treaty with the Federation. The Enterprise has 3 days to remove the humans before the Sheiliac arrive. Tau Cygna is a planet with heavy doses of hypersonic something radiation.
Yeah, tetrion explosive diarrhea radiation.
Yeah, which is fatal to humans, so anybody who's there couldn't be doing well.
Yeah, so I don't know why you have people on your planet, on this planet here, get them off. It's really silly that you would put anyone there. Come on, guys.
But if they don't get potential survivors off of the planet, they'll all be killed as soon as the Sheliak get there because they don't value human life.
Well, great. That just means they're jerk faces then, I guess.
Yeah. The radiation also messes with sensors, phasers, and transporters. So they can't do anything. They send Data down in a shellcraft because he's not going to get killed by radiation.
Yes. So it deactivates all their technology except Data and a shuttlecraft.
Which is usually how that works.
Yes. Convenience.
So upon landing, Data immediately runs into Harith and Kenter, who you cannot convince me are not just a very nice gay couple.
Yeah, they definitely got that vibe going on.
They always are hanging out. They josh each other. You never see them separately the entire time. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure this is just Star Trek's first gay couple.
Yeah, so, other than, possible Kirk-Spock stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, they're both bi.
So the first official gay couple, not the first bi couple.
Yeah, because we don't see them interested in the only women on this planet.
Indeed.
Which is the problem. There's only 3 women on this planet, so...
Yeah.
Math.
So, it's we only got so many options, and, this lady over here is, really in computers and nothing else, so we probably don't have a chance. So, are you doing anything this Saturday?
So they tell Data that they are all descendants of a colony ship, the Artemis, that launched about 92 years ago and then was lost, and there are currently over 5,000 people here. So, without transporters, it's going to take them weeks to fully evacuate the place.
Yeah, you can only fit so many people into those tiny shuttles, so. So
they take Data to see Goshevin, the colony's leader. He is repairing a water pump and does not want to hear it.
Oh, there's a guy from outside our colony, so first off, we have contact with the rest of the universe again. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Also, I don't want to listen to what he has to say because Aqueduct...
Yeah, this guy's probably lying. The Sheliak probably don't exist. Even if they do exist, we could probably fight them. Also, look at this thing that we built. My grandfather's buried on that hill. We spilled blood to bring water to the desert. Just live near the water. Why did you build here? Seems like a bad idea, guy. I think your ancestors were stupid.
Yeah, well, I guess, maybe this is more arable land, maybe, but
not
still.
If there's no river.
Yeah.
Where is your nutrients coming from? You don't just need water to grow crops. Generally, you need someplace that's on a floodplain or a volcano.
Yes. Maybe that's the thing, though. It's the plot radiation is helping the plants grow.
Yeah.
Here.
Probably. They're not solar-powered plants. They're weird radiation-powered alien plants.
Yeah, so we've created more crazy stuff for this episode already. Let's see where this goes.
So Goshevin goes back to work. Someone throws something at Data that he catches, impressing Ardrin, who is super into androids and computers and wants to help Data.
Oh, we got a fangirl here going on here, and so Data, you got an instant friend, and hopefully it doesn't get weird.
She's like, I trust computers more than people because I'm the weird trauma girl. Yay. She's like a manic pixie dream engineer.
Which is kind of a thing in terms of archetypes, but you don't see it too often.
Back on the ship, Picard tells O'Brien and LaForge to get the transporters working, which is impossible, but... going to lead to some minor scattered comic relief that I don't have a good way to work into the script, so I know that's happening.
Yes, so if you like melted containers, this is the part of the episode for you.
Picard calls the Sheliak homeworld to try to request time to evacuate the colony fully or to, ask if they can stay, rework the thing. They refuse to compromise because they have a treaty Goodbye.
We got this rule already set up. It took us negotiators, walking up both ways to school, the snow, in times past, and we're not going to betray that memory or our stickler for being rules lawyers.
So Data tries to talk Goshevin into stuff again because the situation is, worse than they thought. But he gives a speech about bringing water to the desert and his grandfather, etc., 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 ancestors, etc. That's all he ever says, basically. It's his entire argument.
My ancestors settled this America, and you're not going to let me get ousted from my land for nobodies. I mean, a planet, not America. Yeah.
So the Federation is going to send a colony transport, and we're sorry you'll be there in 3 weeks. Nothing we can do about it.
So yeah, time to kill and the colonists to be killed by the Shiliak.
So Picard decides that if the Shiliak are going to be there in a few days, they must have a ship nearby already. So they decide to find it and go talk to them or stall them or do something while Data gets their job done on the planet.
Well, I guess the Enterprise is the flagship of the fleet. They could do some sort of show of force and be kind of a jerk move. It could start an interstellar war or something like that, but
Data's not really sure that he can pull this off, but Riker's just like, no, do it. It's all on you. Lots of people are going to die. Bye.
Yep. Use your people skills, Data. Yeah, those people skills you totally have.
So Ardrin comes to talk more. She thinks that they are having an impact because people are starting to ask questions, and Goshevin's called a public meeting to discuss what's happening. She kisses Data full on the mouth, and he goes, "Why did you do that? That's interesting."
I've not been programmed to enjoy kissing. I don't know what it's for, really,
it's
other than
probably
showing
just
affection.
the way people show support to each other. Great.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, you kiss your friends full on the mouth to show them support.
Every day of the week.
And then she gets embarrassed and goes, "You know what we should try? Reverse psychology."
All right. Well, Bugs Bunny isn't here. Do you got anything else?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not great. So a crowd gathers around the water pump because it's the one set they built. Goshevin wants to tell people the facts, which is that he doesn't know any.
We're powerful colonists. We can totally take these guys, even though they have a spaceship and we can't leave our planet.
So Data wants to speak. Goshevin tries to make him leave, but silencing your opponent is not a good way to win arguments with the crowd. Data uses reverse psychology and goes, "It's great that you want your 10-year-old here to die for the glory of the colony.
Congratulations. You're going to be honored.
Good job."
Yeah. You're going to be totally, remembered by nobody.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Goshevin's not buying it. He says leaving would mean giving up on everything that they've built. My grandfather's buried on that mountain. Everyone cheers.
Well, if you want to take him with you, I guess we can arrange that, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
Hey, we've been testing our transporters. Do you mind if we give them a try on him?
Instant cremation. Aquamation? Yeah. This is goo. It turns to goo.
Maybe he might get rearranged in some hilarious fashion too, like arms sticking out the head, sort of things, and being like a mummified skeleton by this point,
Fingers out of the eyeballs. So back in the ready room, Picard and Troy have a talk about how strange it is that any aliens can communicate with anyone at all because language is hard.
So Picard, remember this lesson for future encounters.
Yeah, because I don't know, the Shiliak don't have a common frame of reference as a non-humanoid species. I guess. Well, no one's ever been able to speak their language. They learned English and went, this is stupid. I hate you.
Maybe that's why the Shiliak, view humans as so, far down the evolutionary scales here that they're like, wow, these guys use verbal communication. Oh, so primitive. Should be using spells or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Fart communication. Like a civilized people.
Like that one hilarious Doctor Who thing.
So they've reached the Shiliak ship, and Picard demands a consult that they are entitled to by treaty. So they sort of agree, and Picard goes to their ship, which is neat looking. It's big and dark and has crystals, and I want to know why aliens from Next Generation that are a guy in a sparkly black blanket look so much better than aliens in original series and Doctor Who that are guys in sparkly black blankets.
I think it comes down to the lighting. Original series, very sort of flat sort of lighting going on here. And if there's special effects going on here, it's usually just sort of that, overlay sort of film effects. And in Doctor Who, it's like stage lighting, so there's a lot of intense spotlights, which is kind of like what they're doing here. But it's not soft light, which is what they're doing on TNG. It's more of the starkness here. So it's hard edges versus softness.
So really, the thing to take away from this is, if you don't have a budget for makeup, do good lighting.
Yes.
So the Shellac again say that they are entitled to kill everyone on the planet because they have a treaty. I think maybe you shouldn't have put "you're allowed to kill everyone on the planet" in your treaty.
Yeah, that seems like a terrible thing, just generally, but though it might be one of those sort of there's nothing in our treaty that says we can't do this. Maybe you should have included that.
So Picard gets sort of angry, and the Shellac send him away with what is now going to be, I think everyone should use this as your go-to line to end Twitter arguments. You do not discuss, you gibber.
I can endorse that. Though, the way things are going, Twitter might be a ghost town of nothing but bots anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, but make a bot that just says that to everything and watch them go crazy.
Yep.
I think it's an untapped medium to just, make a Twitter bot that replies to weird homophobic, transphobic, whoever people with just dismissive comments, a random selection of dismissive comments, and watch them fight with a bot for 3 days.
Be glorious. I should learn how to make a bot like that.
So back on the planet, Data and Ardrin have convinced Kentor and Harith to have a meeting in her house with everyone who does not want to get killed. Maybe the official policy of the colony is not to evacuate, but some of these people have self-determination, so they might want to leave on their own. Yeah, that's not allowed because Goshaman shows up and hits Data with some sort of electric stick.
So that's how you win arguments here. You don't just tell them to be quiet. You have to go up there and actually shock them into quietness.
He tells everyone to leave. They all run away, leaving Data to probably die, except Ardrin, who grabs some sort of scanner doohickey.
I'm going to tweak your neuron pathways or something like that. So zap.
She doesn't know what she's doing, but later Data wakes up anyway because his self-repair had kicked in. Yeah, I noticed that humans sometimes respond to actions better than words. I need a phaser.
A working phaser, because plot radiation.
Yeah, you're not allowed to have a phaser. They don't work. So Data, takes some of his own components out to make a super phaser.
Wait a moment. So the writer has made it impossible for me to do the thing, but I'm also an android. I'm the Swiss Army knife of Star Trek. I'm going to undo what the author has done in their own script. There we go.
Yeah. So he tells Ardrin to warn Goshavan that he's going to go destroy the pumping station because he wants it to be defended.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Picard puts the Enterprise directly in the way of the Celiac ship to keep them from moving. Then he gets that treaty that they keep using against him to see if they can find a way to hit them over the head with it for a change.
Now, what does this treaty actually say?
Lots of stuff. It's apparently thousands of pages. Because they wanted the specificity because they believed that human language was stupid.
100-some-thousand pages or something crazy like that. But while they're doing the scanning through the text there, can you actually read it, Gepwin?
I mean, I didn't try because dyslexia, but...
Well, apparently some folks have actually transcribed part of what actually pops up on screen. So would you like me to read a couple excerpts from it?
Sure.
So... all of this simply to get the text along to subspace is quite a ways down in page. You might think that time is incredibly clever stuff, boy. Are you wrong? Rick is initiating a something, and you differentiate into the text and two cute girls with the big guns. We might also mention Akira Ranma, Nonsensical, and a few other animated films. The Federation at this point in time seems more tangled up in paperwork than the Iran-Contra scandal. Business in the text of the treaty, or didn't anyone think about that eventuality when the bloody document was first drawn up? Never mind. It keeps going like this.
Well, they had to put something on screen. So, meanwhile, on the planet, Data attacks the pumping station. He knocks out 3 guards immediately and goes, that was the stun setting. This isn't. And then he blows up the pumping station and apparently the entire pipeline for as far off into the mountains as you can see.
The phaser has 3 settings, so we find out today. Stun, kill, and destroy aqueduct.
Yeah. He goes, I am one android with a hand weapon, and the Sheliak are going to blow you all up from orbit. You're never even going to see them coming.
So, be prepared for just kind of dying someday, soon.
Usman's sad, but he's like, well, I guess it's pointless to stay here and die. Maybe that wasn't the best plan.
Yeah, maybe you should have, I don't know, given this guy from space, where they know what's coming at you, maybe a little bit of your time to think about stuff. Maybe.
This should have been his plan from the beginning. They go like, we could fight them off. He's like, do you have anti-air guns? Do you have ships? They're going to bomb you out of orbit. Like, you're not even going to see them when they get here. What are you thinking, you weird person?
You don't have a planetary shield. You don't even have a localized shield over your colony. What gives, guy?
So back on the ship, Picard, Worf, and Riker are reading the treaty, which is very long. Worf is annoyed because they're looking at words. What is this?
Worf don't like words. So here's another excerpt from the treaty. We can do search and replace, come to think of it. That's what the Sheliak want to do with the colony on the planet, and this section deals with the right of each party to confer with the other in the event something screwy happens.
This is why Worf is annoyed. He's like, what this is gibberish. Then Picard sees something he can use. He calls the Sheliak again, according to paragraph 1290. He requests third-party arbitration, which is their right. And furthermore, he names the Grisellians to arbitrate, but unfortunately they are currently in the middle of their hibernation cycle and will wake up in about 6 months, and then they can get this all sorted out.
Hooray! So, let's sit around here for 6 months.
The Sheliak get kind of annoyed, and Picard hangs up on them, which he enjoys greatly. For answering their hailing, they go like, fine, you can have the 3 weeks you wanted.
But don't make us wait 6 months. Come on, guy.
Then LaForge arrives and said, we figured out how to get the transporters to work. It's going to take 15 years.
Yep. So, do we have a delay of 15 years to get this sorted, or are we good to go?
But, it's going to be fine. Don't worry about it.
Now, before we move on, I do want to point out just how awesome the scene is with Picard delaying getting back in touch with the Sheliak here. Because he's like, I'm going to go look at the plaque over here and just kind of wander around the bridge, and now we go.
Yeah, I was going to take some time. Everyone in the background is trying not to laugh. So back on the planet, Data is preparing to leave when Ardran shows up and goes, I need to know, do you have feelings for me? He says, I do not have feelings. End of sentence.
Yeah, just at all. Come on. Did you not get that when I explained this earlier?
And then he kisses her and goes like, you looked like you needed it. And then that's it. She's sad. She waves goodbye, I guess. She fell in love with an emotionless robot.
Yes. Go back to your roadside attraction robots. They'll be fine.
Yeah, her house is full of those like robot sculptures that people weld together out of old farm equipment.
Yes, and they are... they look crude and, non-functional.
So Data comes back to report to Picard, who is currently listening to a recording of his violin performance that he had to miss earlier because of emergencies. And he says that he thinks Data is showing some real feelings. And Data goes, no, this is stupid. It's all technical. He's like, but, you're saying you copied people, but they're, people with 3 very, very disparate styles that you've merged, which is what anyone does.
Yes. The human, aspect of playing an instrument, combines the things that you're trying to imitate with your, your own physical limitations. And Dave doesn't really have the latter part, but he still has the former part.
Yeah, he combined styles and structures and things. That's all anybody does. Just shush Data. It's fine.
Yeah, everything's a remix.
That's it. Data's human. Hooray.
Now go down there and kiss that girl some more. So do you want some more a treaty text before we move on?
Sure, why not?
And time span adjustment factors, third-party agreements, third-party assistance may be requested from a federation if the distance from the vessel to Sol Sector is greater than something. Standards, measurements, unit assistance may also be requested less than something, and subspace relay garbled. Yes. A real detailed treaty that was.
Well, it's because of the limitations of human language.
Yes. Apparently they just, human language is entirely made out of script notes. This is weird. No wonder the Shellyak despise us.
So, okay, this episode was stupid, but I love it.
Yeah, it's fun. It has some interesting and fun character moments, and the bit with the I mentioned with Picard there, and it's like, yeah, we got some character stuff going on here, and we're kind of ignoring the whole displacement of people being kind of a thing that's happened a lot in human history and kind of has a lot of baggage with it, but we're dealing with the weird aliens, so it's okay, right?
Yeah. This is a strange one they keep doing this like hand wavy treaty stuff, acting like it's just normal and no one should care.
Yeah.
And then they get the whole Maquis thing later, which they don't know what to do with. My God, they don't know how to write terrorism.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they technically kind of do, but only for one episode and not one involving the Maquis.
Yeah. This demonstrates fully like the strength of Star Trek Next Generation, because they could just pull off this strange bureaucratic win so well.
Yes.
Every time they have an episode with Picard doing diplomatic shit, they have the most boring ass, we found a loophole in a 60-year-old law that relates to another 60-year-old legal treaty. And then just the way that they set it up, and Picard's delivery, and the entire frickin' thing is just like, yeah, you find that loophole.
Yes. So I'm gonna show these guys up, and bam, epic climax.
It's like legal drama in space, which is just such an underrated genre.
Yeah, maybe someday you and me, Gep, when we can run a show that is basically just a legal drama in space. But until then, this is the best we got.
Yeah, it would be so much better because you don't have to deal with the moral implications of making up modern laws. It's great because you get to make up all of the laws, so you can do whatever you want. You don't have to worry about whether or not they seem too close to real laws now, or get a lawyer, or you consult anyone.
Yeah. Having a lawyer on hand would be, potentially nice for, it's like, sometimes we do want to reference stuff from like, the olden times, the ancient laws of Earth. But, for the rest of it, you can kind of just make it up and, including, legal standards and, practices and all that. And, the space precedent of, Gorblat versus, the Gemini androids. And how that affected this other thing that made it clear that the movement to change jurisdiction is only applicable if the planet's being destroyed, or Shellyak are showing up to kill everybody.
The Data stuff I always like, because anytime they let Data do stuff on his own, it's fun and they write it well, but they always do just make him too much of an idiot.
Well, I guess to a certain extent, in terms of his socialization at this point, it's very much Starfleet sort of biased. That there's a hierarchy he's dealing with in terms of folks that take orders from him, and he takes orders from others. And there are people at sort of the same level that are sort of in his friend group as well that might also be somewhere in the hierarchy, but of which he has sort of a more familiar relationship with, but. Random people outside of all of that, he maybe doesn't know how to interact with them in the same sort of fashion. So he's like, all right, well, I'm going to sort of do the thing that's kind of obvious from what I remember before I joined Starfleet, but, that wasn't really well formed since I was still kind of getting my, legs on. What would be a good term for, an android that's learning how to, like, interact with people?
Processing your neural somethings.
getting his chips in a row. So he's still getting his chips in a row at that point. So kind of falling back on that. It's like, oh yeah, I guess there are still things that I don't quite get because I really haven't had to deal with them for an age, and I wasn't really good at it back then. So we'll see how this goes. And hello, strange new people that I don't know much about. What's up?
Yeah, a little bit. It's the same problem that they always have with writing Vulcans. Is the problem they have with writing Data's interactions. Because they keep talking about how his main problem is he doesn't understand emotions. And as wrong as it is, they constantly juxtapose emotions and rationality and logic, which would sort of make sense for a computer to approach every situation purely logically, but he doesn't at all. Yeah. Like he doesn't get there, go, I told you everyone's going to die, and you want to stay and die. This logically doesn't make any sense, and I'm going to have a logical argument with you. He goes, I told you that you're going to leave because it's the thing that makes sense. And they go, no. And he just, what?
Like, how can you? But dang it. I'm somehow frustrated.
He goes so fast between, I am basically a walking encyclopedia with the knowledge of all of human history, just a mere access point away, and then immediately to like, what do you mean a leader is strongmanning his way into a bad situation? Has this ever happened before in all of human history and my breadth of experience?
Never mind that there's, you've run into planetary dictators before that, were being very unreasonable. Heck, the Shellyak in this very episode are kind of unreasonable in terms of the, kill all humans sort of policies. So maybe you should be expecting some irrationality from some of the individuals you run into.
I think that it is a little depressing when you hit stuff like this. It's like, this is an episode of television from the late 80s, which you could pretty much juxtapose. You could pretty much put the meaning of the episode on modern politics and go like, hey, look, they're saying basically the same thing.
Yep.
Misinformation because this guy's angry about stuff, appealing to past accomplishments in order to say that they could basically destroy anything they wanted, and we shouldn't listen to anyone, and I'm going to kill you eventually if you keep making problems.
So, don't make problems, and let us, live off our perfect lives forever that will surely never be challenged by anything ever.
Yeah, it's lucky that they sent an android, because otherwise he would just straight up murder someone.
Yeah. So, I guess, having Data having a fighting chance of not being murdered instantly by these guys is probably another good reason to send him down. So I guess in terms of Star Trek humans, maybe that's why he's being baffled, because this is the Gene Roddenberry future where everyone, from Earth is now perfect.
Yeah, so you hit this problem when people left Earth 100 years ago, and now they're not logical anymore.
So I guess there, maybe it could have been an interesting investigation in terms of like, all right, so he's not buying my argument here. So there must be some other reason that he is refusing to be, convinced to leave this planet. And then maybe have a whole plot about Data investigating the sort of power structures on this planet and learning that Goshevin, is, basically leader by force of personality, and that, his always being sort of like this to anyone who challenges him is his, standard go-to. It's like, no, we're going to do it my way or the highway. And, anything else that anyone else suggests that we should maybe do, is out of line. And then, use that to draw some big circles around his sort of, past behaviors, present behaviors. And that, he always keeps doing this, but, the aqueduct might be cool. I'm also still going to destroy it because that's, part of the climax of the episode. But, there's also these other things that he's done that kind of didn't work out and were actually counterproductive. So maybe this guy isn't all, he's trying to argue who he is. So, maybe let's not listen to him and get yourselves killed.
Well, it's kind of interesting that they set up this guy as the strongman leader, and one of the other townspeople, like Ardren, whatever her name is, calls him out
Artie.
for only having the same argument.
Yeah.
It's like he says, like, my grandfather is buried on the hill. Yeah, we get it.
You got the special badge there of father buried on the hill. Do you got anything else? Maybe no. Can we move on?
It's kind of an odd Star Trek message because they have a juxtaposition in there that works out really well. We can talk about the good writing of juxtaposing the two leadership styles, but they start with this guy is obviously bullshitting his way through leadership.
Yeah.
And instead of being able to like do anything to oust him from power, talk him out of something, logic around, get someone else in, no, force is the only way.
Yeah. We gotta force it, and we just don't have time for anything more subtle or nuanced or interesting. So
Which I think is you can show that sometimes something's so stubborn that you need to do something drastic like this. But I don't feel like they set it up well in this case because they kept on setting up like this guy's obviously a fraud and eventually he'll be revealed as such.
Yeah. It would be kind of nice to have more instances where there is a fraudster in an episode, but that's not the main problem. You don't have to have the Harry Mudd of the situation, front and center. You can have someone who's causing a problem, a complication to the plot that is a fraud, but not, that central figure. And then, have that be something that's dealt with on the way to getting things sorted out. And I'd like to see that more often in Star Trek. So
because they do really love you got to get rid of the one bad guy or convince him around or do something to the one dude.
Yeah, you deal with him on the way to the actual solution. And, maybe he turns around and becomes helpful by the end, or, he doesn't turn around. It is still a problem even afterwards. But, it's like we've gotten ourselves the time we needed. The colonist ship that's going to be here in 3 weeks to pick everybody up, they'll deal with him, hopefully. But it's not our problem anymore. Good luck, guys.
Now, that being said, they did do a very, very interesting thing in showing problem solving in this episode. Because they took Data, who is your, logic, non-emotional character. And they took Picard, who, while still a good logical leader, is often a lot more passion-driven. He's I give a big speech about the morality of the situation and win people over.
Mm-hmm. Picard speech.
And they took Data and put him in a situation where you need to use an emotional argument, and they took Picard and put him in a situation where we have to use a rational argument.
Indeed. So it's like, all right, so you're going to be out of position for both these characters here, and they're basically switching places. It would be very convenient to have Data be the one, running the treaty, because he's kind of good at finding these little details and, exploiting them. Well, Picard is very good at making the big speech, as you just said, and so to a certain degree, Data has to learn one, and Picard has to learn the other. And that, sometimes their key strengths are not something they're going to be able to rely on. So, that's opportunity for character development and growth.
But what they did really well is they didn't just full on switch them. Data didn't have to learn how to give a big emotional speech, and Picard didn't have to learn how to use a completely logical solution that eschews all emotion. They let Data logically figure out that you need a show of force, and here is the best, most logical, concise way to demonstrate that show of force that a computer would think of. Yes. And Picard had to look into your purely logical, pedantic, stupid bureaucracy but then come up with a clever emotional workaround solution.
To a certain degree, he's playing on the particular emotions of the Shellyak that they don't want to wait around for 6 months. So they're going to get frustrated because they always get frustrated with humans, but they're also, adherence to the letter of the law or treaty in this case, to a fault. And so they are going to be effectively opting to either concede to Picard's, request, or be really frustrated by sitting around for 6 months. So
yeah, so it's great on the, Data could have read through the entire treaty and maybe found some sort of little thing that would have given them a little extra time or said the planet could work out or whatever it was. But he's like, I am going to tick these people off so hard that they just have to agree with me.
Mm-hmm. So, Shellyak, how are you feeling about this situation? Huh?
And then by contrast, Picard, as the big emotional speechy character, would probably never just blow up the center of the town.
Not unless somebody was trying to kill him or fire something at the ship or something like that.
The Data goes in and does the calculations, goes like, they told me to get the people off this planet. This is by far the most efficient way to get the people off this planet.
So they're not going to have water soon, so that's going to discourage them from sticking around. So let's go.
Yeah. Picard would come in. It's like, yes, you could also be buried on that hill with your grandfather. And then the Shellyak can pave over it and forget about you.
Yep. And that's if you're lucky. But yeah, so there are some issues with this episode, but it's still generally a pretty good episode that I enjoy. So yeah,
I do think they don't get into the moral thing, and there's a weirdness in there of we don't have time for the full thing, but there's a whole history of like ceding useless land in treaty negotiations, and then later going, well, damn, we needed that.
Yeah. Oh, that's where all the oil and uranium in our former territory was. Crap.
Yeah.
Huh.
Now, in our history, we just go like, we actually meant screw you instead of you can live here. But
yes, and so we're sending some airplanes your direction. Shoot them down before they bomb you. That's an act of war. Just FYI.
This one is odd because it's like we wrote a bad treaty 100 years ago, and now we kind of have to displace some people to prevent war from breaking out in a way that we don't necessarily understand how it would turn out because they seem to have equivalent power levels.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe the Shellyak was always a paper tiger, that they are being all mysterious and non-humanoid. It's like the humans of the time were just kind of spooked by them, and being super isolationist after that kind of means that we just never got to get over that.
I think that the one thing that you can say about what this demonstrates morally from the Federation's standpoint is that they believe it is better to forcibly displace some of their own citizenry rather than stand up to them at the point of risking a international conflict.
Yes. I guess this is maybe a preview for some Federation behavior later.
Yeah. It's like you can have a debate. There's a healthy debate of whether it's better to risk the emotional well-being of a few thousand people to prevent a possibility of war. But you also don't have a guarantee of war either. So you wind up in some like, was it morally wrong to not at least try to fight for these people's rights to do shit?
It's like maybe we could figure out a new treaty that prevents the Shellyak from just exterminating everybody on this planet and leaving them with a sort of enclave or something like that to maybe deal with. They'll be limited in terms of their extent of control of the planet on both sides, with Shellyak getting the vast majority because they can probably colonize the rest of it for more effectively. But then nobody really has to deal with it because, planets are kind of big. So
that would have been a much more Star Trek-y way to handle this solution to this problem.
Yes.
Like, you can both live here and everyone's going to hate it, but in 3 generations, this will be the place where peace between the Federation and the Celiacs start to come about because living together
they're
and having
actually
to share
interacting.
resources and working out the stuff, you will be forced to understand each other.
Yes. We've now inserted necessity into this possibility of invention. So, before we get too much further, shall we talk about treaties in general?
Yeah, they're weird.
Yeah. So, a treaty, an agreement between two, countries usually, or international bodies of some sort, typically, between sovereign states, as they say, is generally effectively a special sort of contract that is sort of self-enforcing, enforced by the parties involved. So, it's like you agree that the border between our countries is going to be here. And as long as everybody respects that, then everything's okay. And everyone knows exactly what's going on. The problem comes in when you get to that situation like before, where it's like, oh, all our oil and uranium is over here, so this bit of our territory is still ours, actually. So, just deal with that. And then, that's where international incidents and possibly conflicts come out. And sometimes there can be pressures put on by one party or the other, or sometimes third parties, to try to sort things out without breaking the treaty or, pushing forwards with a new treaty or something like that. But it doesn't always work out that way. And so you get, some nasty stuff as a result. But ideally, these treaties are being designed to prevent, conflict, wars, and the like, because, independent of, individual actors throughout history, at some point, you kind of got to stop fighting because you're kind of tired and don't want to do it anymore. The reasons for that are going to be varied, of course, but there's going to be, it is one of those inevitabilities that a war could start, but eventually the war will end. Sometimes, yeah.
It's one of those strange, we all agree to the terms of this thing, mostly because we all trust that if you break your agreements with people too often, no one's going to want to play with you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So you wind up in all these weird things where we can't do this, we can't break this thing, even though we definitely could, because then someone else won't do something with us later. But then you still wind up in all of our historical American stuff with sorry, Mexico, the border's here now. What you going to do about it?
Yeah. And there's also a sort of the creeping thing, specifically, that the United States likes to do, where if you sort of violate these treaties in small enough ways for long enough, you start being able to get away with larger violations of the treaties, and you might have enough power or influence, or basically other folks sort of nodding along to your decisions to get away with it. And even if you are very much not prone to following the letter of the law of your treaties here, you're going to be people are going to be forced by the practicalities of the situation to still make treaties with you, even if they know you're not going to adhere to it in the long run.
Yeah,
it stops being a secure thing and more of this is a temporary agreement and everybody knows it's not going to last. So we're going to make use of it while we can and prepare for the inevitable betrayal.
Yeah, it's the mutually assured destruction problem.
Yeah.
It's if the thing that you're banking on being the controlling factor, the consequence for this happening, is something that is really bad and no one wants, then if you put your toe over the border and someone goes that's against the rules, you're like, oh, was it? Is it worth starting a war about? Are you going to start a war about this tiny little thing? Oh, you really want to do that?
Yeah, Slovenia. What you gonna do? We got the whole U.S. Army here. Are you gonna tell them that they can't set up a little toll booth on your border here? I'm just making up a thing. Hopefully this is not a thing that's actually happening.
And you're canceled. There you go.
Dang it.
Now Slovenia's out to get you.
Don't think I know someone from Slovenia specifically. I know someone from Croatia, though. But, it's next door. Anyway. So, you get these
They're
you get these
how
sort
dare
of
you say that about Sleepy?
but you do get these sort of margins of wiggle room that the Shellyak would probably not care for, which might also be one of the reasons in universe could explain why the Shellyak are huge sticklers for rules. Is like, yeah, we don't actually trust these humans. They seem prone to breaking their international laws, even internally on their own planet there historically. So they really can't be trusted, and so we are going to have a very hard line on everything, including the ability to just exterminate them if they wander into our territory. So, let's, make it so that any toe over the border, is going to get our full force and make that clear right from the get-go.
But obviously that's one of those things, as you see demonstrated, that's like, we're going to be extreme sticklers to the rules when it benefits us. Mm-hmm. As soon as it doesn't, we can bend rules. That's fine.
Which is kind of what happens in the episode. It's like, we can not wait 6 months. We can bend the rules for this situation. So yeah, treaties are weird. And maybe if there's like some sort of like effective united, situation nation thingamajig to maybe try to have things, enforced generally that didn't have some weird veto system involved that allows big powers to just sort of run roughshod over everybody. That'd be nice, right?
Yeah, but you wind up with the fundamental issue, which is what we always have, like on any level of enforcement. You wind up with this fundamental issue of like, but what are you gonna do about it?
Yes.
Like, yeah, you could have the UN and a peacekeeping army that will come in and do something when someone puts a toe out of line on a treaty, but like, what? What's a proportional response? How do you punish a country?
Yeah, and that's, I guess, one of the reasons the whole sanctions sort of things became the go-to thing in the 20th century onward here. That, instead of going to war, you put financial pressures of various sorts. Maybe not a full-on embargo, but yeah, we're not going to trade with you on these things, or there's going to be, important people in your country with large international financial reach, and now we're going to lock down their accounts because they are influential enough inside your country to put pressure on the leadership to maybe undo this, and similar sorts of things, so that there is alternative means here, but still to a point there is going to be only so much pressure that can be brought by these sort of tools that is not that might not be enough to cause a change in behavior. For example, all the sanctions put on Russia since their invasion of Ukraine.
Yeah, we don't have a way to deal with unequal power dynamics.
Yes.
So you can put a sanction on and they go like, well, we either work around it in a way that's technically not allowed, but again, what are you going to do about it?
Mm-hmm. Oh, hello, Armenia, buying lots of things from the EU and then shipping them off to Russia.
Yeah. Or we're going to start a war about it. Mm-hmm. And then what are you going to do? Like, yeah, you sanctioned us and then we blew up some shit.
Yeah. Come at me, bro.
Yeah. Like, if anybody tried to, freeze one of our United States rich people's finances, like, you are damn sure someone would invade that country right quick.
Heck, the U.S. likes to invade countries, even if that's not the case, if there's rich people that want things there.
Yeah. Which also, like, how would they even do that since we control all of the world's banking systems?
That's a good question. So maybe another reason the U.S. has a bad habit of just kind of ignoring treaties is like, oh yeah,
well, yeah, because in the 70s, Nixon switched everything to the dollar standard, and we've controlled world finances ever since.
And any attempts to move to say like a euro standard tends to result in bad things for those countries.
Yeah, that's why the euro is worth $1.
Yeah.
And that's why anyone who says that we need to go back to the gold standard doesn't understand American finances.
Yes.
It's like, oh, great. You want to bankrupt the country? That'll fix everything. Good job.
Like, oh, yes, you can have a silver coin in your pocket and you know exactly the value of it. No, actually, international finances is a lot more complicated than that, and you're now going to be suffering some crazy inflation. So,
Yeah.
congrats.
What God ordained the price of gold, and that is all. That's it.
It's like, the price of basically anything in the world is arbitrary. Just, what sort of arbitrary are you dealing with is the only question. Oh, who would have thunk?
This isn't an original thing. I forget where I saw it recently, but there was someone who's like, oh, look, this person is willing to take all of my worthless money and give me their incredibly valuable gold. How generous.
But anyway, that's all I really got to say about treaties right now. Maybe some point we can get into contract law, but
Yeah, it doesn't work. That's the entire thing here, is that like they don't have a mutual trust. Both sides are trying to avoid a larger conflict, and they found an equitable way to do it that everyone's ticked off about.
Federation, you need to stop doing that. Maybe have something that prevents the larger conflict, but everyone can live with too.
This is the problem that I've always had with the way that they write external conflict in Star Trek, just blanket. It's something that DS9 really tried so hard to play with, and they failed so utterly and completely, which is why I hate that frickin' show. But how much can you compromise the morals that you set out to stand for before the thing that you're fighting to uphold is no longer the thing that you set out to defend?
Yeah. There's mild compromises, and then there's, things that are just beyond the pale.
And that's something they kept trying to do with everyone's favorite pale moonlight and all that bullshit, but they never really explored it because you can't in the United States.
Yeah.
But you have stuff like this. Like, we are willing to fundamentally disregard the sovereign rights of Federation citizens to prevent a larger scale conflict. How much can you do that before you don't live in the place you thought you did anymore?
We have, a perfect society that is now being completely dismantled, effectively, in the hopes that we'll protect our perfect society. This is totally working out right?
Yeah. Leave or die is not much of a choice,
Yeah. Oh, this got depressing.
Yeah, it always does. Capitalism.
Dang it, capitalism.
This might be nationalism, but maybe
they're kind of related.
Eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, they tend to have a lot of solid links and all that.
Anyway, let's talk about more awkward android kissing and the galaxy's favorite game show.
Woohoo! Hey everybody, welcome back to the galaxy's favorite game show. Today we got a whole colony of contestants hanging out here. It's not a big colony, but it is like a small town sort of colony. And we got various folks racking up all sorts of points here. And it's time to see who's pulled ahead. So it looks like the first prize is the TV Love Story prize, which goes to Adrienne for her infatuation with Data and attempts to woo him. What does she win, Gepwin?
Already there wins. Just get a vibrator. We don't talk about it, but they must have advanced this technology at some point in the last 100 so years in the Star Trek timeline. She doesn't trust humans. She only wants machines. There's a very easy solution.
Indeed. So maybe just make a robot of a different sort here for yourself here, and everything will be fine. And then you can, think about processing information in the meantime. Actually, I'm kind of curious about something. Anyway, our second prize here is the Sinclair's Fine Print Prize, which goes to for Picard. For finding and using a useful aspect of the treaty with the Shellyak to get them to just kind of chill out. What does he win, Gepwin?
Picard wins the International Peace Prize, but not for him, for the Sheliak because it'll encourage them to do better.
So get your piece on Sheliak, and maybe we can all live together and feel all right.
Because that's historically worked out great. Look at the international peace prizes and the the Nobel prizes for the Nobel Peace Prize. Look up the history of that. You'll be shocked. You won't like it.
It's like okay. So Teddy Roosevelt wins one for negotiating a peace treaty between Russia and Japan, while also being a bit of a warrior himself, and conflicts, and there was something with Spain at some point. I think was that McKinley. Anyway, our final prize today is the Hide Your Power Level prize, which goes to Data for surprising the colonists by destroying an aqueduct with one shot, with the android equivalent of having one arm tied behind his back because he had to use parts from the other arm. What does he win, Gapwin?
Data wins a spare parts pouch. See, the number of times he has to do this, he just needs a fanny pack full of random android components. And then he will have to stop ripping open his own arm.
Yeah, the random android components are apparently very specialized and unique, and don't come in the usual packs they have on the shuttles. So just having his own replacement parts would be a good idea for multiple reasons. So good Data on you for finally getting that sorted. Hopefully in the future, maybe. That's all I got here today, Gapwin. So feel free to take us away.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining us in an incredibly awkward, sex-filled episode of the Galaxy's favorite game show.
Oh yeah.
They never mention it, but Data self-repairs constantly. Like, throughout the whole show, he can self-repair through almost anything.
Yep.
He must have some sort of micro-replicator in there.
Probably.
So, like, when he removes shit, does it just get remade 20 minutes later?
And, or maybe it might be a thing where it gets remade 20 minutes later, but it has to like get moved through some process to the right area of his body. So if he takes something out of his arm, it might like take a day for it to get properly replaced.
Yeah, see, that's one that they never do. With the replicators, he could consume random anything, and it could be deconstructed into just straight up energy, where his replicator recycler, whatever. They never use replicators to the full extent.
Yes. Well, I guess there is sort of the multiple views about what replicators are really all about. One is you just energy in, get product out, which requires a lot of energy, so that's maybe not practical. There is then the option of it's rearranging anything into anything else, which calls the question of you can basically have anything you like now, and then the more limited version where you have this atom or molecule in, and you get this atom or molecule out one for one, but in a different sort of rearrangement. So you can potentially have things that you can't replicate, such as say latinum or random doohickey part space burger that they need to order from another planet. Or any of those times where replication is just not an option are now allowable, and so I guess in terms of practice, it seems to be that last one. But in terms of explanation about what the replicator is doing, it's usually one of the first two. So
yeah, nobody knows how these works.
Yes.
I actually just saw an interesting video. Rowan Coleman did an interesting video called "How Star Trek's Future Works: Money, Work, and Property." Goes into some really interesting stuff about property rights and how they could possibly work in a no money future. But he had a thing about how you could use a replicator to make fuel for the fusion reactor that would then power the replicator. It's like, sort of, but you're forgetting conservation of energy in there somewhere. So you're on the right track, but conservation of mass.
Yeah, and I guess if you wanted to be more direct, if your replicator was of that first type, you just unmake something, and now you have energy.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Maybe that's why consoles explode.
Yeah, they just suddenly turn back into energy. Replicated stuff is inherently unstable, so when it gets damaged too much, it just turns back into energy, which explodes.
Yes. So I guess the lesson is Star Trek engineers, stop replicating important parts that that might explode near people's faces.
See, that would be an interesting way to go, is that it's just very slightly unstable, which is fine most of the time. But if you shoot it, it's going to explode, which is why you can't replicate absolutely everything.
It's a metastable material. You mean like you could change phases, and like start sublimating? Well, more exploding, really.
It's okay.
And by sublimating, I mean turning into a plasma.
That's technically right. Change energy states, change matter states without going through the ones in between.
Yep.
All right, so next time, who wants to talk about pacifism?
Oh, that sounds like a wonderful thing, actually. Going to be all nice and friendly, and nobody's going to get shot?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone particularly got shot.
Well, how about wacky antics and, deadly, potentially, traps?
Yeah, we got a lot of those.
Yes.
Why? I don't understand. Anyway, the next episode is The Survivors, which you might remember is the one where they show up on a planet and the only thing left on the planet is a tiny little house
with an old couple.
Yep, and they have a trap that gets Riker.
Yes. Why? They never really explain it.
Yeah, just cause
properly. Yeah. Also, Troy has some issues, but that happens sometimes.
Yeah, that happens all the time. Troy just has brain issues constantly.
I guess it's a good thing that there's only one person who's even remotely telepathic on the ship. I guess there's no Vulcans, maybe, because otherwise there might be a bunch of other people that have these sort of issues too.
This is why you never hear about the Beta Z, Starfleet equivalent, because anytime a telepath leaves their planet, terrible shit starts happening to their brain.
Yes.
They can't go explore because then every single person on the ship would be incapacitated every time they hit one of these situations.
And so it's like, we just kind of don't bother unless we really need to leave the planet, or we, are looking to get married or something like that.
All right, next time there's The Survivors, and we're going to have to talk about extreme pacifism.
Yes. So extreme that it's like a sport, right?
Yeah. Like in the 90s. It's pacifism in the 90s.
Yes. Pacifism in the 90s.
Extreme pacifism.
Next time on Watchers of Tomorrow, unknown major power goes missing. You have been listening to Watchers of Tomorrow, a podcast on science fiction media. Find and follow Watchers of Tomorrow on Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Spreader, Digital Podcast, and perhaps many more to come. If you enjoy our podcast, make sure to subscribe for more. And where possible, make sure to rate your experience or leave us a review. You may find Gepwin on youtube.com/Gepwin and Twitter @Gepwin. You may find me, Dr. Isix, on youtube.com/Dr. Isix and Twitter @IsixLP. Music is Waveform and Mori's Principle, both by DRKRN. You can also check out the Watchers of Tomorrow Discord channel. Make sure to share the experience with your friends, family, enemies, and alien overlords. If you feel you are suffering from transporter syndrome, please be aware that the next time you step off the transporter, that you that is now no longer exists.